It's the Human First AI Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague at Avenue 9. You can find us at avenue9.com, doing all kinds of cool things with AI and marketing, helping you tell your story, scale your marketing systems, or just build an audience and community, getting some AI help. All right, Jonathan, this week we are talking about go-to-market and how we help go-to-market teams, customer service, sales, marketing, putting it all together to get some growth momentum going. So Jonathan Kvarfordt is from momentum.io, and they have an engine for this. You don't have to actually type stuff into the CRM and stuff anymore, Jonathan. You can actually get some AI help in managing all your customer interactions. Tell me about what you guys are doing to enable go-to-market teams.
Yeah. So first off, pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan of anyone who's like about the balance between human and AI, not just saying let AI replace everybody, because I don't think that's where we're going to go. So I appreciate that. So I got to tell a quick story before I tell how we do this. So I was a customer of Momentum before I came on board as a team member. So I know this from using it as an admin. So my past background was inside of enablement, RevOps, coaching, that kind of stuff. And so at the time, I was looking for a technology that could help me kind of be like an Ironman suit to kind of extend my reach to the sales team. And I found Momentum, and I had my first demos with the CEO, who is the kind of guy that as soon as you meet him, everyone just kind of loves him. He's just such a good, intelligent, good man. Anyways, so he had this cool demo. I was like, this is awesome. So I had to get the tech. And then as I really started to dig into it, I realized that this was one of the new school things I see in general with AI, is that the past life SaaS would say your sales reps or whoever need to adopt a technology. And for us to show value, we show how many people have used the technology that show adoption. And the new school, Momentum included, is the total opposite of saying, we don't want you in our technology. We want to be in your workflow, so that you don't have to go adopt another tab or another technology or whatever. And so I used with my team, and it started showing up in Slack, and my team was like, this is awesome. Well, how'd you do this? Because like it took all the notes, it sent them the reminders after the calls. It was doing all this back end stuff that they didn't have to do. So my top reps were like, this is amazing. Like, I don't know how you did this, but this is awesome. And we're talking like the basics of just CRM data entry, which is such a pain in the patoot for a lot of team members, customer success and sales, you know? So the whole reason why I say this, because the whole point of what we find is kind of like the crux of the problem when you get down to it, is that our expectations are that humans become the data source, that humans are the ones delivering the data. They go to a closed last meeting, they go to all this stuff, and a human has to communicate what the heck's going on, because no one's putting stuff into the CRM. The challenge with that is that you lose a lot of data and content. And you depend on a human who may become sick, who may leave the job, who may do whatever, or may even forget about different concepts. Like when you're in marketing, and the only way you know what the heck is going on is from a salesperson or from watching a bajillion recorded calls, it's not effective or scalable, you know? So having the ability to have an AI kind of be that web out throughout all the conversations, then deliver to you what's happening real time, is so important and very helpful, actually, because then you can actually market, because you can hear what the heck the customer's saying instead of having to I wouldn't say waste time watching videos, but I don't know how many people have time to watch 8 hours a day. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think there's a ton to unpack there, so I'm excited to get into it. Number one, that's one of the reasons I started Avenue 9, was I realized that like the interviews that I was doing for podcasts and stuff, now the actual human interaction became that data source that you mentioned, that I can actually just go do my job now, and I don't have to, pay somebody overseas to transcribe every word or do all the data entry or get an assistant to fill out the CRM for me and all that stuff to create data. And I'm not working for the tool anymore. The tool is working for me, which is a big shift that I still don't think people have gotten a hold of yet, that those conversations your teams are having, especially in customer service, customer success, or in sales, that's conversational gold for marketing, for research, for product development, for even AI and being found in AI answers and recommendations.
Yeah.
Those frequently asked questions. right?
When you think about the world we're going into, like there's people, there's two sides right now. We're kind of in the middle of things. So to give you some background, like I started the GTMAI Academy 3 years ago, and I've had 10,000 people plus go through the academy. A lot of them are marketers. And so I talk about this AEO thing all the time. And so we live in two worlds. The one world where someone's actually typing in a prompt saying, tell me about the best tool in this category, blah, blah, blah. Then the other side, someone's just talking. So, and you, I don't know about you, but I type differently than I talk. Because I'm either formal, I'm short in my typing, or whatever the case might be. When I talk, I just ramble, right? So when you're able to hear how someone actually speaks about their problem versus just typing it out, it's way different, because then you hear the exact phrases, and then you can make content around that. So you can have the AI search that's voice led, be able to capture those sentiments, which is fascinating.
Yeah, and I think it's a totally different process. So again, maybe I'm nerding out on something that's a little deep, and we could talk about
Let's do it
for sales leaders. But I think that's where the power of AI is at the moment. Is we now don't have to take the salesperson's word for it or the customer rep's word for it. And the sales leaders that I talked to over the last 15 years always had the question like, well, how big of a need is it? If they want this product feature or whatever, how many people are asking for it? What is the big deal? What's the ROI? If we invest in building this new, add-on widget, product, service, whatever it is anybody going to actually buy it? You can now see across all of your conversations. You don't have to just pull your audience, and when people lie or they have fond memories of things, you actually know, oh, this comes up, 3.4% of the time across 1,000 different calls, and you can measure whether those are important things or not. I think that's huge for go-to-market.
Yeah.
Knowing which ones don't, right? So on the sales side,
yeah,
which deals close and which ones don't, with actual information from the call, not just our CRO thinks it's great when we call on this mid-market company.
Yeah. The when I did my MBA, one of the biggest lessons I took out was making decisions with data, because I'm a big gut person. I love to make a decision with gut. And then I realized, I was like, I'm definitely, and not that I'm saying you should eliminate the gut, because at some level, even with data, you still have to make your best decision you can. However, being informed with data is so crucial, because otherwise what I've seen with CROs is that they'll hear one call and they'll obsess about saying that was a horrible call, the entire team's crappy now, and then the whole program revolves around this opinion, which I'm like, that's not factual, nor is that the thing that we should work on to move the dial for revenue. You know what I mean? So
yeah, oftentimes you just got outsold. The competitor said something better, had a better connection, made a better point, and now all of a sudden we're like, we got to shift our whole go-to-market strategy because the competitors are doing X. And
yeah, you know what we've done? We do. So we've done a couple different things. We do a thing called Momentum IQ reports, where I personally take someone's. This is going to get a little technical, so hopefully I'll try to describe this. So Momentum doesn't only just automatically put in data from each call, which it does. It does call by call and put data in. It can also go backwards in time. And like if you have 6 months of recordings, we can suck out the data from all those recordings from any field you want to, and then auto-populate it in and enrich your CRM from past conversations, which is awesome. When we do that, I then have an aggregated view, and then I personally go through and do this like analysis of what's happening, why you close one, why you close lost. Is it the rep? Is it the product? Is it competition? Is it pricing? Like why are we losing or winning? And it's been like really insightful as I've dove in, and then I make these really beautiful designed reports for our customers to show them like, here's what we're seeing. And I can attach a value saying, these 10 deals have lost for this reason. Their value is this X. These 15 deals have lost for this reason. So I can start going through and figure out, your biggest thing you're losing is these top 3 things. And then they can actually take some execution on it, make enablement, change and shift messaging, marketing. The sales team can be trained better on whatever heck might be going on. Like there's so much goodness you can get out of it that we've never had a ability to do before, because we didn't have the ability to aggregate the data before, So that world, and the next version of it is when we release our next version, which I can't talk about yet, but it'll be done automatically. So I'm out of the loop because I've trained an AI to do what I do, which is fun. But now it's going to give you that report automatically on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, which is going to be awesome. And I'll say this one last thing.
I think the idea of the AI CRO or some AI coaching is good, because we've talked about it on this podcast, and I've worked with similar companies that go really deep into this. It's just it's important to get objective feedback and to get some insights in a usable manner, So for so long we've been dealing with, we got to dive into this deep report, and then we don't know what it is. We have to make the meaning of what these numbers mean. And humans are just very, very bad at that. So I think the strategy is amazing. But on the other side, you also have this sort of AI coaching and Slack notifications and stuff that's really sort of in deal, or I don't know how you can tell me how you get with the AI signals. Like,
yeah.
It's possible to get in call notifications and stuff now. I don't recommend that. I think you're in the moment. You just gotta, but it's possible at least these days. What do you think is happening, on the tactical level?
Yeah, there's outside of AI for a second. Anytime I did enablement, I always focused on what does someone need before a call, during the call, and after the call. Nice and simple. And then you break that down by each call type. So you have like, what's the beginning call, or what's the negotiation call, or whatever the heck is. And then my enablement can focus around here's what we need before, during, and after. Now, I am old enough, which I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm old enough to where I used to do phone sales to where I had a manager in one ear talking to me and my customer in the other ear, and it was coaching me as I was talking. Like, it's so distracting. I'm like, shut up, let me talk to the customer. I can't do this, So like there is this balance between, and some of our competitors do this kind of thing where they help with during call help. I'm not going to say that it can't work. I'm just saying I don't know if we find that right balance yet. My opinion is it should be a resource that's easily accessible to a sales rep, and that it is either easily promptable, and I wouldn't mind if an AI automatically like bubbled up something that happened because of the transcript, but I don't want it in people's faces to get in the way of the conversation, of the connection. You know what I mean? So it's like, it almost needs to be like a sidebar, maybe even a Slack chat. Cause like, as an example, our sales team and myself, when we have sales calls, we're in a group chat in Slack, chatting back and forth. So it's not like they can't handle the conversation. So it's almost like you need to have that AI version in Slack that's there if you need it, but it's not in your face and like distracting you, So it's just trying to find that balance between how do you become helpful versus getting in the way of what you're trying to accomplish, which is the connection,
Yeah, I totally agree. And I found that my background is in radio and broadcasting, and there's only so much you can do. You can, when we're doing in the middle of a show or I'm talking on a microphone, you can hand me a note that says, hey, don't forget to mention this or something, but we can't have a conversation back and forth. And when I've been doing live broadcasts in front of, tens of thousands of people, you can send me a Slack that says like, hey, we've noticed, this question in the comment. Everybody wants to know if they get the PowerPoint slides. It's like, all right, I'll say that again. And I can pick up these little moments, but I can't read a whole thing. I can't have other stuff being involved. I also can't, I don't want necessarily like, I've seen some sentiment analysis things where it's like, the person's face turns red because I'm losing this buyer over here, and I'm going to start freaking out in the middle of the call because this one person on the buying team is giving me a frowny face. Like that, I think is not helpful. It's possible, but not helpful. So tell me about the things that you're doing with Slack notifications, and it sounds like you're mostly focusing on pre-call prep and debriefing.
Usually we like using the three categories of before, during, after. We right now are doing before and after. So there is like, we try to give like as an example, if someone has already had 4 or 5 calls with a customer, a Momentum goes in and reviews those and say, hey, just so you know, here's kind of like the lay of the land. Here's some things you probably should ask, because it knows like you missed a part of MedPick or something, and make sure you ask about the economic buyer or what the concept is. And then everything on the back end, there's a lot that happens on the back end, from communicating to the manager what is going right and wrong. It's nothing to do with performance, just saying, here's the health of this deal, current state right now. Tells me in marketing, like they ask for content, here's the content you need to have. Like there's so many little branches of things that it does to make sure that people have been communicated, because otherwise the burden is on the sales rep to have to go out and communicate all these things to the system, to people. But Momentum does all that for them, so they just work. And then I get the results from Momentum from marketing point of view, and the sales manager gets what they need. Same concept, So it's a lot of that. Like, what does somebody need before a call? And then Momentum tries to deliver as much as it can. And then secondly is, what do you need after? And that's where a whole lot of other stuff happens.
I love that. So tell me now about the next step, which I always get the questions about, like integrations and automations, because I think this is kind of a misconception. I think people are use the Ironman, I use the Terminator analogy too, which is like, people think that like you're going to get these Terminator agents, that Momentum is just going to be your CS rep going forward.
Yeah.
There are certain industries maybe where that happens. We'll probably see it exist, but I also see people over promising what automations can do. And you're like, oh, this integrates with 700 other APIs. And you're, oh, okay, well, great. I know Zapier exists. I'm a marketer. Why would I do that? And what kind of, time savings do I get?
So sorry, the question is automations, integrations,
like AI or automations and integrations. How are you actually streamlining the process, and what actually helps versus like the promise of that, like we're just going to set this up and AI is going to do everything, and I just show up for the call and then I end the call and AI does all my follow up. Do you think that's possible? Where are we today? What do you think is best practice?
I'm going to go from two different opposite angles of this. How about that? So I use a technology called Get Peel. Peel is a technology that you can use to, I can upload a deck to it, and then that deck can sit on my website, can be wherever it might be, and someone can have a conversation with an AI agent that flips through the deck and answers questions, right? The goal of this agent on the deck talking to someone is to book a meeting. So this agent could technically do a discovery and do a demo without any human involved. That conversation is important, and I want to make sure that conversation is then sent into Salesforce, right? Which obviously we can handle. So that's one angle. The other side is if we don't have an AI agent involved, we obviously have to augment that conversation. So one side is the AI agent does all the conversation for you, and then it hands off at some point to a human. The other side is humans does everything, right? In both scenarios, momentum's not doing the conversation. It's just taking the information from conversation and moving it in. Does that make sense? So for us, we're going to a world where like we don't care if it's an AI or a human. We just want the conversation. We'll move that data. Now the one side is we don't know as buyers and consumers. We don't know yet how much we like AI or not. It's kind of like I didn't know if I liked Waymo until I took a Waymo. I took a Waymo. We were told as kids never to get into a car with strangers, and yet we do it all the time when we travel. So it's like I don't know what the experience is like. Would I buy a house from a holographic AI agent that's like Jarvis? Maybe. I'm not saying no, but I don't know yet. So I think the world we're going into is going to be kind of like a pick your own journey type play, where someone on a website or whatever the case might be, you'll have two options saying you can either go down the AI channel or you can go down the human channel, and the human channel will be more expensive than not because AI would be so easy to do, and humans will not be easy to access. So the human interaction, the specialist like yourself, is going to be worth more because you have things that AI can't duplicate. It becomes a limited supply. So then it becomes more valuable, So, but we're not there yet. Right now, we're still in this experimentation of like, do people like talking to a deck? Do people like talking? We don't know yet,
Yeah, I kind of feel like a lot of these things and I'd love to hear your opinion, are like a magic trick. It's fun the first time you do it and you're like, oh, cool, look, I can do this. And then the next time you're like, yeah, but why would I? Like, I see how the magic trick works. Google's Notebook podcasts are kind of that way. The first time you hear one, you're like, this is incredible. I can't believe this podcast is generated by a robot. And then like the fourth or fifth one, you're like, I can't believe I'm listening to a podcast generated by a robot. And it happens pretty fast. And I think a lot of these tools are going to kind of have that flash in the pan and then burn out. Or we're going to have to find the use cases for them, right? Where it's
what's funny about that is like Notebook LM. I love the podcast function of it because like I like to put research in there. So like I'll go out and like mow my lawn or do something with my kids or whatever the case is, and I'll throw it on a podcast and I'll just listen as I'm doing whatever I'm doing. It's so nice. Like I know it's that way, but like I don't worry so much about if it's AI or human. I'm like, I'm just consuming information. That's the point.
Right. That's how I use it too. They have video overviews now too, which is like a little
which is great
course.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I think to your point, it's like people are figuring out what is the utility still. We're still trying to figure out like what do I actually use this for my day to day, which for me again for Notebook is just throwing in a 50-page research paper and then just letting AI break it down to me in a way that I can actually understand. So that is insanely valuable. But to your point, if you don't have like if you're not able to connect the dots between what AI can do for you and the novelty of it, then you're gonna lose interest and not use it.
So I guess I'll give you one more swing at momentum in the free sales pitch, since you've earned it here. But
Let's do it.
where do you think momentum is helping and making the biggest impact for salespeople right now, either towards the AI and integration stuff, or just overall information AI processing?
Oh man, I could go on this topic for a long time. Let me get digging in for a second. So I'm going to talk from strictly an individual contributor point of view, strictly,
Yeah, great.
because there's benefits from managers and CROs, which just go from the bottom level. We know from both research and from firsthand experience that most people spend 70% of their time on things that are not revenue generating. So if I'm a sales rep and I have $1 million quota, 70% of my time is not spent on trying to get my quota. It's spent on all the other stuff I have to do, like meetings and CRM entry and looking for content and blah, 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 all those stuff. Right. So world class, according to different researches from like Deloitte and from Gartner and from all these other places, world class level of revenue generating activity time is like 45-50%. World class.
Yeah.
So one of our customers, who's Kyle at Norton at Owner, and this is probably because he's just an amazing CRO and leader, but his team is kicking 60-70% revenue generating activity time, and his goal is to get him to 80-85, which is funny because you can do that now, and you couldn't have never done that in the past. So that means that his team, one person on his team at 85% revenue generating activity time, is more than doubling the output of someone on another team that's at 25%. Like way more from same human. So it's not saying replace humans. It's saying, how do I amplify them and make them run as fast as possible? So from an individual contributor point of view, the question I'd be asking yourself is, do you want to work for a company that I would ask you this question of like, how much time am I actually spending with customers revenue generating? Because if you're asking me to get a $2 million quota, but 80% of my time spent on shenanigans, it's going to be very difficult for me to do that, or is the environment I'm going into a place where you're automating a lot of stuff, and I have to be accountable, obviously, but you're automating all the stuff so that I can actually focus on my job, which is having conversations, building relationships, and creating revenue. Like that's the crux of what momentum does. We believe that people should be the source of excellence in relationships, not for data entry. And so everything we do is around that theme to make sure a sales rep can be augmented to their fullest genius extent. So momentum can take care of all the other shenanigans, and they can just focus on the customer and win deals and do what they do. Does that help?
Tell me about what's going on in the GTM AI Academy.
Well, before I pause, because you have me to a pitch, did that answer your question as far as sales reps and stuff?
Yeah, perfect. Loved it.
Good. All right. Okay, so the Academy. So I've been in enablement now for 5 years. The first company I was for, strangely enough, the guy built his own model of AI. It was for videos just like this. And the AI was trained 5 years ago on body language, emotional tone analysis, like all this. It was fascinating. Yeah. And so the company I was with bought his technology. He became the chief AI officer. And I was in charge of making sure customers and salespeople knew what the heck AI was and how to use it. And so I was trained by this guy who literally built his own model. So no, I couldn't find any better training. He was on some sort of team for OpenAI for GPT-1. GPT-2 is giving feedback on the models. And when it launched in November of 22, I was one of the other 300 bajillion people who signed up for ChatGPT, probably you and everyone else who listening to the same thing. But I realized very quickly that, and this is not to anyone's fault, but people were posting on LinkedIn of how to talk to ChatGPT. I'm like, this is not how you do it. I mean, only because I had someone who taught me, So I then launched the Academy in December of 22 because I was like, I'm going to do something about this, and launched it out there. And since I've had 10,000 people go through, it's very much learning from the leader level all the way down to individual contributor of like, how the heck do I use AI in my job to actually do things better, faster, easier, cheaper, whatever the case might be, So, and then in the Academy, it's focused on anyone who is on go-to-market. So enablement, RevOps, sales, customer success, marketing, business development, leaders, anyone who does that kind of stuff is like figuring out how to do that. There's a lot of prompting, but there's a lot of just things of like figuring out where do you put yourself with AI to actually make a difference versus, like you said, the novelty of like, oh, cool, you can make a podcast and like, who cares? Like, what does that do for my business? So.
Yeah. Amazing. I think that is very cool. People should check it out. They can connect with you on LinkedIn. It's Jonathan MK, or they can follow you. You're chock full of connections. There's no more spots. You can't connect with Jonathan, but you can follow him. He's got 35,000 followers over there. Great follow. And you can find Momentum at momentum.io. But before we let you go, Jonathan, I got to ask you the fun question about the future. Sure. Where do you think this heads? What do you think sales is marketing is like in maybe 10 years from now?
Oh man. I might change my mind as of today. Yeah. September of 25. I believe that what's going to happen is that because of the uniqueness of humans is going to be more. Let me back up a second. I'll try to rephrase this. If in the future everyone has access to the same AI, the same technologies, then the thing that becomes unique is the person. So I see a world where the salesperson, marketer, whoever the case might be, your IP, intellectual property, your uniqueness, your own genius is going to be worth more in 10 years than it is now, because the only source it can come from is you. And what I see is a world where a sales rep could have like a team of agents that they could literally plug into 4 or 5 different companies, because those agents use their genius and just plug into a technology, because it won't be that hard to do in the future. And they could literally sell for tons of different companies. It's just getting their talent in the right place. So I see that world where you'll have like these master negotiators who are really, really good at building relationships, who are just plugged into 3 or 4 different places, and all they do all day long is just negotiate, But
that could be very cool. And you're also an adjunct AI professor, and you've been in this a long time. So I would love your take on, where do you think we end up in our lifetime? Say like 30 years from now, which sci-fi movie do you think we end up in? Are we colonizing Mars and all have universal basic income, or is it something more?
I'm an optimist for a couple reasons. Like, I believe in human greed, and that no one wants to have an AI that takes over the world and like destroys everything. So because of human greed and people want to be the top companies, that makes me trust in they're going to do something to make sure things are safe and positive. So the world I'm hoping for, I'm putting out there, the world is kind of like a Star Trek world, where people are still working. It is kind of more universal basic income, but people are doing things that they enjoy and love, and it's a productive society versus the Terminator. We're all going to die. I just don't think that way, that's what I think. It's not very helpful. It doesn't help me at all, but I'm excited for the future. Like, seeing a world where, like, I can't wait for the day in 30 years from now when a doctor will come in and be like, you used to do this for surgery? Are you crazy? That's like caveman. What are you doing? Just put this thing on and just fixes the thing. Like, that's the world I can't wait to get to.
Nanobots, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think Star Trek really did a great job. I'm glad that it exists, so that we have like an analogy of what it looks like, that people still have jobs, they still do things because they choose to, but you don't have to worry about food or money or credits and things. And most things are provided for you, and people still own homes and stuff, which is pretty interesting. I think that's fascinating. Awesome, Jonathan. Well, again, thanks for being on the show. Head of growth at momentum.io. Again, you can follow Jonathan MK on LinkedIn if you want to look there too. And last question, how can you help us? How can we help you? Any final thoughts?
I'm great. I would just say this as a giveaway for your listeners. We have a 200+ prompt library on Momentum that I personally wrote all of them for go-to-market people. So if you guys want a good library of prompts, I can give it to you. You can give the link out to people. But if you just go to momentum.io, you can also find it there under resources. But I'll send you a link too.
Yeah, link in the show notes there. That would be awesome. And for Avenue 9, if you're looking to do context engineering to get better output from AI, that's one of the things that Avenue 9 does. We can help you build the content for AEO. I can interview your founder, your top salesperson, your best clients, whatever it takes to get the information together to create an amazing marketing plan and go-to-market strategy. And then also have this AI content generator that speaks in your voice with your brand and your unique positioning. If that's interesting to you, go to avenue9.com. Until next time, keep going. Have fun, everybody. Bye.